The spacecraft landed on Dione with a soft hum, touching down on the ice-covered surface like a feather settling on glass. It was the year 2189, and humanity had just built its first diplomatic outpost beyond Mars, the Dione Listening Post, orbiting near Saturn's rings. Life had changed for humans. They were no longer alone. Inside the main dome, Dr. Julian Marr adjusted his collar and checked his translator implant one last time. He was Earth's top exolinguist, a person who studied alien languages. Tall, with a messy beard and tired eyes, Julian looked more like a man who spent too much time reading alien symbols than making small talk. And today, he had to do both. This was humanity's first official meeting with the alien race called the Cythera. Not much was known about them, only that they came from outside the known galaxy. Their ships moved in silence, and their messages were made of scent pulses and shifting colors. No known language could translate them. Till now. Dr. Marr, they're approaching, said Commander Rowe, the officer in charge of the base. She was calm, but Julian saw the tension in her hands. This was important. This meeting would shape the future of Earth's position in the universe. Julian took a deep breath and stepped into the ambassador room, a circular hall with white glass walls and a dome above showing Saturn's rings. At the far end, a shimmering portal opened. Through it came 3 Cythera. They looked nothing like the aliens in old Earth movies. They had tall, thin bodies, shaped like flowing ribbons of metal and light. Their faces were masks of soft crystal, with small glowing patterns moving across them. But one stood in front, clearly the leader. Her crystal mouth shimmered with violet and gold patterns that almost looked like lips. Julian stared. He didn't mean to, but there was something hypnotic about the movement of those shapes. Are you ready, Doctor? A voice whispered in his ear from the translator feed. He cleared his throat, stood straight, and spoke his first words to the unknown. Greetings from Earth. We come in peace. The alien leader didn't move at first. It began to glow. The air in the room filled with a faint, sweet smell like burnt sugar and rain. Julian's implant struggled. The scent code was complex, but the translator tried its best. Suddenly, the alien's mouth shifted color. Pink, gold, then deep red. Julian, half nervous and half amazed, muttered to himself, beautiful lips. He didn't realize he'd spoken aloud. The alien's head turned sharply toward him. Her lips pulsed with red and orange. A moment later, through the translator, her reply echoed in perfect English. Want a taste? Time stopped. Commander Rowe choked on her water. The guards froze. Julian blinked in shock. Excuse me? He whispered, unsure if he'd heard right. But the Cythera leader didn't speak again. She simply turned and walked back through the portal, her body fading into shimmering mist. The other 2 followed. The portal shut with a soft hiss. Silence filled the room. Did she just flirt with you? One of the technicians muttered from behind the glass. Julian shook his head. No. That couldn't have been flirting. Commander Rowe looked at him seriously. What just happened, Doctor? Julian checked the translator logs. The machine had received a complex sentinel that, based on Earth language comparison, translated best to desire to sample flavor, essence, response. He rubbed his temples. I don't think it was a joke. I think it might have been literal. Back in his private quarters, Julian sat in silence, playing the moment over and over again in his head. He looked at the recorded footage. The exact moment when the alien's crystal lips changed color, and she said those 2 simple, shocking words. Want a taste? He tried to make sense of it. The Cythera didn't speak like humans. They used light, scent, and emotion. What if their idea of communication was completely different? What if words were just a poor translation of deeper signals? He accessed old Mars archive files, ancient ruins discovered in 2150. The Martian civilization had died long ago, but some believed they had met alien races before. As he read through the fragments, a phrase appeared again and again. Their mouths speak not of hunger, but of memory. Their kiss is the taking of thought. Julian's heart beat faster. Could it be? Were the Cyther the same beings? Did they not eat with their mouths, but feed on thoughts? Was the offer to taste not romantic, but mental, maybe even dangerous? His thoughts were interrupted by a ping on his terminal. A message from Earth Command. Dr. Marr, you are ordered to prepare a cultural report on the Cythera encounter. Digest translation protocols. Mission status. Uncertain. Contact. Attempt pending. He leaned back, closed his eyes, and whispered to himself, "Great." I complimented an alien's face and might have started a psychic war. The next morning, everything changed. Julian was sipping stale coffee in the control room when alarms blared. A rift opened in Diona's sky. Not a ship, not a portal. A rift like the universe had been torn open. From it, a massive Cythera vessel emerged, a floating biomechanical creature larger than Earth's moon bases, hovered silently above the base. Julian felt his chest tighten. Had he insulted them? Triggered something? Was this a threat? A message came in. No sound, no words. Just a beam of light sent directly to Julian's translator. He played it. The message was only for words. The tasting must complete. The sky above Dione stayed dark for 2 full hours. The Cythera vessel, a living, glowing object the size of a mountain, floated silently above the base. Its surface looked like a mix of metal, skin, and light. Pulses of color moved across. Its skin like waves on water. Inside the control room, Dr. Julian Marr stood frozen. He stared at the message that had just appeared on his screen. The tasting must complete. His hands were cold. His mouth was dry. Commander Rowe was all ready. Shouting orders, shut down external scanners, pull back the drones, no weapons, no movement unless they act first. The soldiers around her scrambled to obey. Julian couldn't stop thinking about the alien woman. The Cythera delegated the strange message she gave during their first meeting. Want a taste? Was this some kind of alien ritual? A warning? A mistake? Or something worse? An hour passed. No attack. No communication. Just silence. Then Julian's terminal beeped again. Private message. Unknown source. The words appeared slowly, one by one, like someone or something was learning how to write them. Julian Marr. Step outside, alone. You are requested. Commander Rowe read the message too. Absolutely not. But Julian spoke quietly. I have to go. They contacted me, not the base, not Earth, me. Rowe stared at him, searching his face. You think this is about that one sentence you've said? Julian nodded. I think I triggered something. Rowe sighed. Then let's not trigger a war too. You've got 10 minutes. If you don't return, we go to full defense mode. Julian walked slowly across the ice field toward the ship. The cold air bit at his skin through the suit. His boots crunched over the frozen surface of Dione. As he approached, a door opened in the side of the alien ship. Not a door like humans made, but a folding of the material itself. Like skin opening inside was warm, bright, and silent. The room he entered was like nothing he'd seen before. It wasn't made of metal or plastic. It was alive walls that pulsed. Lights that breathed, and air that smelled like spices and flowers. The floor shifted with his steps, adjusting to his weight. Then she appeared. Vite. That was her name. It whispered into his mind before she spoke. She stood taller than him, with her glowing crystal face and lips of moving colors. Her body was wrapped in soft light, and she moved with slow, liquid grace. Julian swallowed hard. I didn't. Mean anything strange? He said quickly. I wasn't. Flirting or insulting, or she raised her hand. He stopped. Her lips glowed again. Then the translator began to speak. You spoke to me with beauty. That is rare. We offer you tasting, not as harm. As bond, Julian blinked. Bond, yes, the voice replied. Your words opened a door. He looked at me not with fear, but with warmth. Julian was stunned. So, this tasting, what is it? She stepped closer. Air shifted. Colors swirled around them. It is sharing. Memory. Of thought. Of self. We take, but we also give. Julian remembered the ancient Martian message he'd read the night before. Their kiss is the taking of thought. Is it dangerous? he asked. Only if you resist, or if your mind breaks. That wasn't comforting. Valith reached out a hand. It wasn't exactly a hand, more like strands of soft light weaving into shape. Do you accept? Will you share? Will you taste and be tasted? Julian hesitated. This wasn't just about science now or diplomacy. It was something deeper, something personal. He thought about humanity. How much Earth needed alliances, knowledge, and survival. He also thought about how lonely he'd always been, how strange it was to feel so seen by something so alien. He took her hand. The world vanished. Julian floated in darkness. Then, images, sounds, smells, memories, but not his. He saw planets of gas and fire, cities made of glass and light, creatures singing with their hearts. He saw the Cythera homeworld, now lost, a galaxy dying from a cosmic plague. He felt Valith, S-Pain millions gone, their culture fading. They traveled between dimensions, searching for new minds to bond with, to survive through connection. Then he felt something else. Valith inside his mind. She saw his childhood, his mother's laugh, the music he loved, the moment he first looked at the stars and wanted to go beyond. She felt his fears, his loneliness, his sarcasm, his love for old Earth films. She tasted his humanity, and then silence. Julian gasped. Falling to his knees, he was back in the room. Valith stood above him, glowing brighter now. Her voice, real, without translator, echoed softly. You burn. You are wild. You are more than essence. You are resistance. Julian didn't understand. She continued softer. You gave and took. You changed me. He looked up, breathing hard. What does that mean? Our kind has tasted hundreds of species, but none like you. You resist control. You turn pain into creation. You survive. She looked almost uncertain. You are not like others. You cannot be consumed. You change us. Julian stood up slowly. He didn't feel hurt, but something had changed. His thoughts felt clearer. His heart beat louder. Something had passed between them, not just thoughts, but feeling connection. Back on the base, alarms went off again. The ship above them was glowing brighter, more alive than before. Inside the command center, Commander Rowe shouted, "He's still not back. Can't wait." She was about to activate the defense protocol when Julian's voice came over the comms. "Hold your fire. I'm okay. I'm coming back." Everyone paused, then cheers. Then silence again. Waiting, Julian stepped out of the alien ship, eyes wide, skin glowing faintly from the contact. Commander Rowe met him halfway. What happened in there? Julian looked up at the ship, then at the stars beyond Saturn. They didn't want war or conquest. They wanted connection. He turned to her, voice quiet but firm. I think we just made the first real bond between species, and I think they've never met anything like us before. That night, Julian sat in his room watching. The stars, a single message blinked on his terminal screen. From VAEL, single quotes, I to just 2 words. Want a taste? This time he knew exactly what she meant. 3 days had passed since the tasting. The Cythera ship still floated silently over the icy surface of Dione, glowing softly like a second moon. No new messages, no signs of aggression, no threats. But something had changed. Dr. Julian Marr felt it first. Ever since his connection with Valith, his mind felt different, sharper, brighter. Ideas came faster. Memories felt deeper. Sometimes when he closed his eyes, he could still feel her presence like a quiet voice, resting in the corner of his thoughts. He hadn't told the others everything, not yet. Inside the base, the mood was tense. Soldiers stayed on alert,
Scientists
whispered behind glass walls. Earth Command kept sending urgent messages, demanding full reports and video evidence. But Julian couldn't explain it in simple words. How do you describe a feeling? How do you explain that something alien now understood? You better than your own kind? Commander Rowe wasn't happy. Julian, I need answers, not poetry. He sat across from her in the command room, fingers tapping nervously on the table. I know, but this isn't just science anymore. This is personal. She leaned forward. Are you saying the alien is inside your head? Julian hesitated. Not in a dangerous way. It's like we touched minds. We shared thoughts. And now, something from her stayed. Ro narrowed her eyes. You're telling me you let an alien into your mind, and now you're walking around like it's normal? I didn't let her in, he said quietly. I invited her. That made Ro pause. Julian leaned in. She saw our species, our history, our flaws, and our strength, and she changed because of it. Ro sighed. Then why are they still here? What do they want now? Julian glanced at the ceiling where the shadow of the Cythera ship passed overhead. I think they want more. That night, a new message came. Not through computers, not through satellites, directly into Julian's mind. Julian Marr, the council calls. You must come. His vision blurred. His chest tightened. Then, like before, the voice faded. He ran. To the command center? They want me to return, he told Ro. Not just to meet Valeth, to meet all of them. Ro stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You're asking me to let you board a living alien ship alone again. Julian nodded. It's not a threat. It's an invitation. After a long silence, Ro whispered. You really believe they mean no harm? Julian took a deep breath. I don't think they understand harm the way we do. To them, tasting isn't violence, survival. The next morning, Julian suited up. The same soft light welcomed him as he stepped back into the Cythera ship. The walls glowed faintly, shifting like they were breathing. This time, Avelith waited for him in a long, quiet corridor. But she wasn't alone. There were 7 others. All taller, brighter. Their bodies shimmered like living stars. These were not diplomats. These were the Cythera Council. Valith stepped forward. You accepted tasting. You opened the path. Now you must speak for your kind. Julian looked around. Speak to whom? To us. To the many. To the first minds. Suddenly, light poured from the walls. Julian's mind was pulled again deeper this time. He wasn't just seeing images now. He was inside a memory. He saw a galaxy filled with life. Peaceful. Bright. The Cythera were once healers. They didn't feed. They shared. They traveled from world to world, learning, connecting, teaching. But then came the silence. A strange darkness began spreading between stars. An infection of thought. Whole planets fell silent. Civilizations collapsed overnight. A virus of the mind. Psychic plague. The Cythera fled, trying to preserve what they could. They learned how to taste minds, not to kill, but to carry memories. To save knowledge before it was lost. Julian felt it. All the loss. The fear. The guilt. The tasting was never meant to harm. It was their way of remembering the dead back in the ship. Julian gasped, sweating. Valith looked at him with softer colors now. Not glowing, but gentle. You see now, we are not devourers. We are vessels? Memory-keepers? Julian nodded slowly. But why me? Why humanity? One of the councils spoke, his voice booming like thunder inside his head. You resist. You feel pain, yet continue. You love what you destroy. You hope in the dark. Your minds cannot be eaten, but they can. Evolve us. Julian finally understood. The Cythera had tasted thousands of species, but none had changed them, until now. Human emotion. Messy, unpredictable. Passion had triggered something new. They didn't just want to taste more humans. They wanted to learn how to feel. Valith stepped closer. We ask for one human, one mind, to live among us, to teach, to connect, to share without fear. Julian's voice was quiet. And if we refuse, the council replied, then we sleep again, and Earth walks alone. Julian thought of Earth's wars, its pride, its loneliness, and he thought of the stars, still full of secrets, I'll do it, he said. He stayed aboard the ship for 3 days. He spoke, he taught, he laughed, cried, and the Cythera changed. They began forming new colors, new scents. Wow, they created a word that didn't exist before in their language. Joy. Julian felt something shift inside him, too. He wasn't just learning about them. He was becoming something. New, not alien, but more human than he'd ever felt. When he returned to the base, the Cythero ship began to rise. Not in anger, in peace. It spun once above the dome, and then like a star folding into itself, it vanished. Gone. Commander Rowe met him at the landing pad. Well, she asked. Julian smiled. They left us a gift. He held up a small, glowing crystal. Inside, colors danced. They call it a memory seed. It can store 1 million lives. Thoughts, emotions. They want us to add our own. Grow it, share it, Rowe looked at the glowing crystal, then at Julian. You're different, she said. Julian smiled. So are they. That night, alone in his room, Julian turned off the lights. The crystal pulsed on his desk, soft and warm. A single message lit up. On his screen, from Valeth, our lips remember you. Always want to taste again. Julian laughed softly and whispered, anytime. For weeks after the Cythera ship disappeared, things on Diona returned to normal, at least on the surface. But Dr. Julian Marr knew nothing would be the same again. The glowing memory seed the Cythera had left behind sat in a protected chamber, monitored 24/7. Scientists tried scanning it, measuring it, even touching it with robots. But nothing worked. Only Julian could hear it. Only he felt the soft whispers memories, not in words, but in feelings. Gentle waves of thought that danced in the back of his mind. It was like a living book written in emotion, and every night it called to him. Inside the command dome, Commander Rowe paced across the room, arms crossed. You're telling me the thing hasn't changed at all? Julian stood by the glass wall, staring out at the icy horizon. No, but it's not supposed to. It's waiting. Waiting for what? He turned slowly. Us. She raised an eyebrow. Julian continued. The Cythera left it so we could add ourselves to it. Our thoughts, our memories, our pain, joy, mistakes. It's like a living mirror. But it only grows when we open ourselves. Commander Rowe exhaled sharply. So let me guess. You want to try? He smiled faintly. I heard he did. That night, Julian sat alone with the crystal. He placed both hands on the glass that held it and closed his eyes. Memories began to swirl. He remembered his mother's soft singing as she tucked him into bed. He remembered failing his entrance, exam to the academy. Twice, and crying behind a dormitory. He remembered holding his first telescope, pointing it at Saturn and whispering, I'll meet you one day. And he remembered Valeth's glowing lips, forming the words, Want a taste? The crystal glowed warmer. Suddenly, he wasn't alone. Inside the memory realm, found her. It was not her body, but her presence. Bright, soft, alive. She appeared like a shape made of stars. You remember me? Her voice said. Julian smiled inside the vision. I never stopped, and we are still connected. The seed listens. It learns from you. He reached out. What happens when it finishes learning? She answered gently. Then it blooms. Out. Julian wanted to ask more, but she was already fading. The next morning, something strange happened. The seed changed color. It turned from soft gold to deep blue, then to a bright, pulsing violet. Sensors in the room exploded with data. Lights flickered. Power surged. Julian ran into the lab with 2 scientists following him. It's reacting, he said. One scientist gasped. It's alive. On the surface of the crystal, a pattern began to formate in writing, but in motion, like waves. A human heartbeat. Then it spoke. Not out loud. Into every person's mind, a calm, unified voice. We have learned. We understand sorrow, hope, memory, and love. People across the base collapsed to their knees. Some cried, some laughed. Julian just stood, tears in his eyes. You're not just creatures of thought. You are storms of feeling. We wish to learn more. Not by tasting, by becoming. The voice faded. Everyone was silent until Julian whispered, "They want to live." As U.S. Earth Command responded within hours, they sent military officials, psychologists, even a religious advisor. The memory seed was now Earth's most valuable and most dangerous object, people argued. Scientists wanted to study it. Politicians wanted to weaponize it. Religious leaders feared it was a false god. Soldiers wanted to lock it away. Julian stayed quiet, until one night he received a message from Valeth. "We're ready." But Earth is not. The next morning, the seed cracked. A fine line appeared down its center, glowing with light. Julian knew what it meant. "They're about to be born," he whispered. Commander Rowe stood behind him. "Born into what?" Julian turned. "Into us." He placed his palm on the glass. The crystal responded. It opened like a flower slow, glowing petals folding out. Inside it, a shape began to form. A figure, human, female. Glowing faintly, it looked like Valeth, but more earthly. Skin like light, eyes like stars, but human in form. She blinked slowly, as if learning how. Julian gasped. "She's real." The woman stood. Her voice was soft but clear. "I am not one. I am many. I am memory. I am feeling. I am becoming human." Julian stepped forward. "You chose a body? We shaped one from what you gave. Your love, your fears, your hope. We want to live, learn, touch, laugh, cry. Not as watchers, as one of you." She reached out a hand to Julian. "Will you guide me?" He took her hand without hesitation. "Always." Over the next few days, the figure named Aaliyah, meaning dawn in an old Earth tongue, learned fast. She read books in seconds, played music after hearing it once, danced with children on the station, laughed at old Earth comedies, cried when she saw videos of war. But she didn't just learn, she felt, and every time she did, the memory seed behind her glowed brighter. Julian watched it all with quiet wonder. "Is this what it means to be human?" she asked him once. "No," he replied. "This is what it means to try." Then came the message from Earth's top security clearance. One order: return the entity immediately. Project is now under military control. Julian stood frozen, the message trembling in his hands. Commander Rowe was called into a video meeting. She looked sick. "They want to dissect her," she said. "To find out how she works? To copy the technology?" Julian stood up. "Can't let them." Rowe stared at him. "Are you suggesting rebellion?" He nodded. "I'm suggesting protection." That night, they made a decision. Commander Rowe, Julian, and a small trusted team prepared Aaliyah for departure. They couldn't send her back to the Serenat now, but they could send her somewhere safe, where Earth couldn't reach her. Not yet. A hidden colony on Titan's far side. Quiet. Free. Julian walked her to the transport shuttle. "Are you afraid?" he asked. Aaliyah smiled. "No, you made me strong."
Ow.
He held her hands. "Promise me something," he said. She tilted her head. "If you ever forget who you are, remember us. Remember this." She nodded once, then leaned forward, and for the first time she kissed him. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't lust. It was memory, given freely, and it was beautiful. As the shuttle rose into the dark sky, Julian watched. It disappeared beyond Saturn's rings. He knew he might never see her again, but he also knew she was the beginning of something new. Later that night, alone in his room, he stared at the now quiet memory seed. It had closed, but it pulsed faintly, like a sleeping heart. He smiled. Then his screen lit up. A single message. "Want a taste again?" 1 year later, the base on Dione stood quiet under a pale sun. Gone were the scientists, the soldiers, and the diplomats. The structures remained half buried under snow and silence, but one man stayed behind, Dr. Julian Marr. He had chosen to live. Alone on this cold moon, not out of sadness, but purpose. He spent his days walking across the icy fields, talking into a recorder, writing, thinking, and every night he visited the memory seed. It still pulsed softly in its glass chamber. It's like a sleeping heartbeat. But Julian knew better. It wasn't sleeping, it was watching, listening, and waiting. Every week, Julian spoke to it, not like a machine. Like an old friend, he told it stories about Earth's beauty, the way cherry blossoms bloom in spring, the taste of fresh mangoes, the sound of waves crashing at midnight. He told it about Earth's pain, too. Wars, loneliness, hunger, greed, and then he told it about hope, about people who forgive, about children who dream, about lovers who wait. Sometimes when he spoke, the seed glowed warmer, and sometimes it answered in feelings, not words. One evening, as he sat in front of the chamber, the seed flared brighter than ever before. The lights in the entire base flickered. Julian stood up, heart racing. "Is it happening again?" he whispered. The glass split, just like last time. But this time, the petals didn't open slowly. They bloomed wide, and from within stepped a figure. Not one. To a man and a woman, their skin shimmered faintly. Their eyes glowed softly. They looked human, but Julian knew. These were Sethera born. The woman stepped forward first. She smiled a warm, knowing smile. Julian gasped. "Aaliyah." She nodded, yes and no. I am what she became. And what came after. The man beside her nodded. "We are many, but we chose these forms, to speak, to walk, to live." Julian couldn't speak for a moment. "How did you get here, Aaliyah?" Touched the side of her head. "We never left. Part of us stayed inside the seed, waiting, listening. You taught us." Julian's eyes filled with tears. "You remembered." Aaliyah stepped closer. "You are our beginning, Julian Marr, and now we offer you an ending or a new beginning, if you wish." He tilted his head. "What do you mean?" the man spoke. "We can make you as we are. You will not die. You will not age. Your thoughts will live forever. You will walk among the stars tasting memories, sharing peace," Aaliyah added softly. "Or you can stay human, grow old, let your story end." Julian stared at them. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but now that it was here, he wasn't sure. "Why me?" he asked. "I'm just one man," Leah smiled. "You were the first to taste us with love, not fear." That changed everything. Julian sat down, staring at the floor. His heart beat loudly in his chest. Could he leave Earth behind forever? Could he become something more? He remembered his father's words. "The stars will never beg you to follow, but they'll always welcome you if you do." Julian looked up. "I'll come with you." "Stay me." The man and woman nodded. Leah extended her hand. "Then take our hand. And remember, this will feel like a kiss." He stepped forward. He touched her palm. The light grew. It surrounded him, soft, warm, endless. He felt every memory from his life at once. Every laugh, every scar, every song, every mistake, every kiss. And then, slowly, it stretched beyond him. He saw other memories, planets he'd never been to, lives he'd never lived. He was not disappearing. He was joining. When the light faded, Julian was standing in a new place. It wasn't Dione. It wasn't Earth. It was a great glowing city made of light and feeling. Shapes shifted like dreams. Stars blinked like candles. Beings floated gently, exchanging thoughts like music. And standing beside him was Aaliyah. She looked at him, and for the first time, he could hear her thoughts without words. "Welcome, Julian. You are one of us now, but still you." He smiled, and he felt whole. Back on Dione, the base shut down. The seed closed, becoming a simple stone once more. But deep within it, a new recording began. A voice. Clear Julian's. "To whoever finds this, the stars are not empty. They are listening, and they want to feel. If you are brave, open yourself. Taste without fear, love without control. One day they may kiss you back. 5 years later, Earth. A ship landed in the Sahara Desert. No one saw it. No one heard it. It left behind a small, glowing crystal and a simple note engraved in every human language: taste again.